Still a couple of other lads coming in here. Good stuff. Adam, Owen, Ronan, Ben, Charlie, Danny, Dara, David, Fergus, James, Luke McCarthy, Mark, Niall, Busheen, Mark. Good stuff, lads. Okie doke, I'm going to get going. So I just kind of have a few slides prepared. When I say a few, I did 40, so we'll go through them quicker than you think. There's so much that you could cover. So I'm just going to kind of give you like a general overview, not to overwhelm you, but there is a good bit of information in it. So I'm just going to try and make it as simple as like possible for you to understand. And then like it could be a thing like do it in the gym as well. Like you can't get every single bit of information in one. So we might do a few of these like intermittently throughout the year, you know, if you want to go into anything more specific. But this will just kind of give you like a baseline overview of what you want to be kind of doing. Okay, we're going to get going. So. Share screen. Can you guys see that screen there with the slide on it, Fueling for Performance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get going. If any of you guys, I'm not sure if you can see on Zoom, if you can see people entering the waiting room or not, because I have this on my full screen at the minute. So actually, no, sorry, it's after popping up on mine. Okay, good stuff. Right, we're going to get going. Right, Fueling for Performance. Change slide. Okay, so here's what we're going to go through, okay? And the next, we'll try and get it done within under the hour, lads. Okay, and I really appreciate you taking time out to listen to this. So we're going to go through what is sick. So we're going to go through what is nutrition, what's the difference between a low quality and high quality nutrition. We're going to go pretty in depth into hydration, and then we're going to cover the 5 principles of high quality nutrition, and then we're going to just talk about a hydration challenge that I think will be a really cool thing to do as a group. Okay. So if you looked up, just to get all these definitions out of the way, so you kind of have a good idea what's going on. If you looked up nutrition in the dictionary, you would find the definition saying the process of providing or obtaining the food necessary for health and growth. Okay, basically meaning using nutrition to keep you alive and functioning. That is the definition of nutrition. But we're going to go one step further and we're going to implement high quality nutrition. So we're not just using nutrition to keep you alive and functioning. We want high quality nutrition, or you can say performance nutrition, which would be described as the right balance of nutrients on a time schedule that suits your lifestyle, got to be individual, to achieve the best performances, live as long as possible, while in good health, and having a good psychological relationship with food. Okay, so here with high quality nutrition, you're going to be trying to maximize health, performance, happiness, and well-being. Okay. So if you nail the high quality nutrition, or you go on a road to make your nutrition higher quality, these are some of the benefits that you can expect. So maybe not a load of you are thinking about this right now because you're all very young. But reducing disease, like eating better quality nutrition, dramatically reduces your chance of getting different diseases and stuff, especially in later life. Better growth and development of your brain and body. Better joint health, last longer playing. Again, I know this is to do like with performance and playing a match, but you also want to be thinking about long term. You know, you don't want to have like to replace your knees or your hips or something like that, and you're not even in your 40s. Okay, so having high quality nutrition is going to help all these things as well, that you can live a fulfilling life way after you finish up playing football as well and you're doing other things. It's going to contribute to decent lean mass. Okay, so decent amount of muscle. It's going to keep your body fat low, your body fat percentage. It's going to improve your cognitive function. Okay, so your mental performance is improved with better quality nutrition. Your energy levels are going to see an increase. Your sports performance is going to see an increase. Your injury risk is dramatically reduced when your nutrition quality is higher. And your sleep quality is also higher when your nutrition is better. Sorry, just have to add Connor in here. And then like on the psychological side of things, maybe some of you weren't thinking about this, but it might be more prominent for others. So having a healthy attitude towards food and your body image is really, really important. Okay, so like the statistics with different types of body image disorders and eating disorders are on the rise. Okay, and that doesn't necessarily mean anorexia and bulimia. There's a lot of things in between there that maybe don't have to be a full-blown disorder, but it is more and more common. I'm sure some of you in the group have or are experiencing something. Okay, so I'm just going to throw that in there. Eating better is not just about the food, it's also about how you're going to eat the food as well. And we want to be able to eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full, having a good relationship with food, and understanding when you're hungry and full, and rejecting diet mentality. We want to get as far away from diets as possible because they never actually succeed. So that's what high quality nutrition is. What low quality nutrition is, on the opposite spectrum, you've got poor nutrient dense foods, you've got really large portion sizes, you've got no structure or thought towards your meals or what you're going to eat throughout the week. Drinking your calories, okay, like fizzy drinks and stuff like that, and having poor hydration. And psychologically, having a really bad relationship with food and maybe body image, and always on a kind of a yo-yo of trying diets. Okay, so again, we want to get off that yo-yo diet if you guys fall into the habit of trying to eat better, really restrictive, and then just hitting a binge or falling off the wagon and then going again. Okay, so we want to get away from that. That's only involved in low quality nutrition. So that's all the kind of summary of the high versus low quality. Now we're going to get into the nitty gritty of the hydration. So I think this is like one of the things that's like massively overlooked. Like you always hear of, you know, the kind of just general rule, you know, lads, drink more water. Like, you know, I say it, Richie says it and stuff at training, drink more water, lads, do your stretches. But sometimes that just can go in one ear and out the other. So what I'm going to try and do here is present this in a way, the hydration piece, to kind of give you the reason why it's so important and kind of what's happening inside your body when you are versus when you aren't hydrated. So that like it's really like, oh shit, that's actually what happened if I'm not staying hydrated. Okay. And then when you hear the words drink your water, it means more to you than just a bunch of words that you've been told since you were like 10 years of age. Okay, so it's taken a bit more serious. So what is hydration? Hydration is the body's ability to absorb water, okay, the vital liquid it needs, and it's based on how much water is available to it. Okay, so your ability to absorb water is hydration. So when you guys are playing a match or doing training and stuff like that, your core temperature is going to rise. Okay, so when you do exercise, your core temperature rises. So you guys probably know, some of you are still in school and some of you are fresh out of school. If you do biology, you've probably heard of homeostasis, which is the need for your body to maintain a constant internal environment. Okay, and one of those internal environments.
That should be interesting.
One sec there. Andrew, will you knock your speaker on mute, please, if you can? Thank you. So, homeostasis, the ability of your body to maintain a constant internal environment. So one of those internal environments is your core temperature. So when you exercise, your temperature raises. If that temperature gets too hot, like, you're going to do serious damage to your body, okay, and end up with heat stroke and end up in hospital and potentially worse. So your body has built-in mechanisms to keep your core temperature at whatever it needs to be, 37 degrees to whatever the range is. So the main way your body will cool itself down, there are other ways, but the main way is going to be through sweating. Okay, that's how your body cools itself down. When you sweat, if you see even just like a 2% decrease in your body weight from fluid loss, there is a significant decrease in both your physical and mental capacity to perform. Okay, so let's say you're an 80-kilo guy and you play a match, you do training for an hour and a half, and after the match, you weigh yourself. And if you're 2% down on weight, which would be 1.5 kilos, there is a significant decrease in your physical and mental performance. And it's going to also happen in a smaller capacity if you're like 0.5%, 1%, 1.5%. And anything above 2%, getting into 5% dehydration levels is like hospital territory. Okay, so massive decrease when you see you're dehydrated. And this is, I think this is really cool here. I don't know how much you think you sweat, but if you only moderately exercise, so this isn't even necessarily high intensity exercise, so moderate exercise will result in a loss of 0.5 liter to 1.5 liters in an hour. So you don't think that's coming off you, but your body needs to cool itself down. It loses 80% of the heat through sweating, and you're going to lose 0.5 to 1.5 liters every single hour. Okay. So losing fluids from our body reduces the circulatory functions. So this is what's going to happen when you're dehydrated. So when you lose fluid, mainly through sweating, when you're exercising, the circulatory function of your body is decreased. So your ability to circulate your blood and the water and vitamins, minerals throughout the body, that ability dramatically decreases because your body is made up of 55 to 65% water. So more water is lost, less of you is made up of water. You're going to start running into a couple of problems. So here's what's happening under the hood. This is the real cool stuff. Well, I think it's really cool. So the main reason why you're going to see a drop in performance when you're dehydrated is you're going to see a decrease in your stroke volume and your cardiac output. Okay, so all that means is your stroke volume is like the amount of blood that's entering the chamber of your heart, right? The left ventricle of your heart, and then it pumps back the blood out into your body. That amount of blood is decreased when it's pumped back out. So your cardiac output, the amount of blood being pumped out of your heart, is decreased when you start to become dehydrated, even just at a very tiny amount. Okay, doesn't sound like a big deal. Well, here's what happens. The less blood that's being pumped around your body means less oxygen being delivered to your cells. Okay, removal of waste products, so like all those hydrogen ions, that like the stuff that burns your legs, like lactic acid, they have a reduced ability to be removed from your cells. So they're staying in your cells longer, in your muscles longer, because there's a reduced circulatory capacity. And then there's also a lack of other essential nutrients, like vitamins and minerals that you need. They're also being reduced. And this reduces your aerobic power. This is what's happening. Okay, and aerobic power, see the definition there? Aerobic power is the ability of your muscles to use oxygen received from your heart and lungs to produce energy. Aerobic power is the ability of your muscles to use oxygen received from your heart and lungs to produce energy. Okay, more efficient this process becomes, aerobic power improves. But on the flip side, the less efficient this process becomes, aerobic power decreases. What are you guys testing tomorrow night in your Bronco? You're testing your aerobic power. That's what you're doing during your matches. It's your aerobic power based athletes. Okay, so being dehydrated impacts the circulatory functions, which has a direct effect on your aerobic power. So if you were dehydrated and you tried to do a performance test like the Bronco, compared to when you're fully hydrated, you will see completely different scores. And now you kind of know why. Okay, less oxygen, less nutrients, and less ability to remove like buildup of waste products in your cells. So I just think it's just so cool when you kind of know that. Makes water just that little bit more important. So you're also going to see a decrease in your sweat rate when you're dehydrated, which is going to cause overheating. You're also going to see a decrease in your blood flow to your skin. So your capillaries will not dilate as much towards your skin. So it's also going to cause overheating. So all these things make homeostasis harder. So if homeostasis can't be achieved inside your body, if your body can't maintain an internal core temperature, it will not let you run any further. That's what your body does. It's going to say, no way, if we run for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to overcook, I'm in danger. Your body starts shutting the system down, stops you doing that extra run, you know? And what's also going to happen if you are dehydrated, you're going to see an increased rate of glycogen use. We're going to talk about glycogen a little bit later in the carbohydrate section, but basically what glycogen is stored carbohydrate, and that is like the athlete's fuel. Okay, so the quicker you dehydrate, the quicker you also empty the fuel tank. So there's kind of two things going on. Your circulatory capacity is reduced, which messes up your delivery of oxygen and nutrients, but you're also using up your other fuel tank that you need to produce high intensity exercise. So I think this is a nice analogy to use to kind of drum it into your head. You being dehydrated is like hitting the accelerator on a car. Okay, you've got your foot down on the accelerator as hard as you can, but you're unable to change the gear. You're stuck in second gear, but you're revving like feck. The car is overworking, the car is overheating, yet your capacity to move is reduced. Okay. So you guys don't really need to remember any of that other stuff. I just kind of wanted to let that hopefully sink into your subconscious somewhere. This is the things that you guys need to practically take away from what you now understand about hydration. So some of the things you might have heard before. So whether to tell, it's not like an ideal test, but a really decent way to tell whether you're hydrated or not is by checking the color of your pee. So you've probably seen those like urine color charts in the doctors and stuff like that. So if it's like really dark yellow, you're in serious trouble. And the clearer it is, the more hydrated you are. So just anytime you're going to the jacks, whatever it is, 3 or 4 or 5 times a day, just check the color of your pee and make sure that it's as clear as possible. That is one of the better indicators to tell whether you're dehydrated or not. Another decent marker of whether you're hydrated or not is thirst. Okay, so thirst is quenched before rehydration. Oh, sorry, thirst is unreliable. So thirst develops after rehydration is present. Thirst develops after rehydration is present. I was training with a lady today in the gym and we were both doing a workout. It was a paired workout. And she turned around at the end of the workout and said, "Oh my Christ, I am so thirsty." So if you guys have ever said that too, playing a match, during training, during the day, whatever, if you're thirsty, you are already dehydrated. Okay, so you getting thirsty during a match, you've already, those things that we talked in the previous slide with the reduced circulatory functions and uptake of glycogen use, emptying your fuel tank, that's already happening if you're thirsty. And then on the flip side, when your thirst is quenched, you will quench your thirst before you're rehydrated. So let's say you're thirsty at halftime, you take a drink, then you're not thirsty. Well, you not being thirsty, it still takes time to actually rehydrate yourself. So I hope that makes sense. So basically, you don't want to get to a stage where you're actually thirsty, especially when you're training. different to dry mouth, like proper thirst, okay? So there are some practical things that you can kind of keep in your mind. High fluid intakes are okay. So in the days before a match, just up your water intake. You should already have some sort of a consistent intake, but let's just say you don't and you're not being great and consistent with your water because you forgot, blah, blah, blah. Just say in the 2 to 3 days leading up to a match, just take on extra water. Okay, there's a kind of a general rule of thumb that you should be drinking about 1 liter to every 25 kilos of body weight. Okay, so if you guys are 75 kilos or 80 kilos, that's 325s. So you should be drinking about 3 liters of water if you're 75 kilos. Okay, and that doesn't include teas or coffees that has caffeine in it, which is a diuretic. Okay, so drinking just plain water, 3 liters a day is what you should all be aiming for. Also remember that weather and the type of exercise that you're going to do is going to influence how much water you need to take or not take. Contrary to popular belief, when the weather is cold, you still sweat a shit ton. Okay, so make sure that you still take on 3 liters water even when it's cold. When it's hot, like it was over the weekend, you probably realistically need to be up to like 4 liters or maybe more because you're going to lose more fluid. And then the second last bullet point here, the quicker you drink water, the quicker you pee it out. So space out your water intake. So I remember when I tried to drink more water like a few years back, I'm like, I'm really going to get into this now. Oh, I have a match coming up. I'm going to slam like a liter of water, like, you know, every hour. The quicker you drink it, the quicker you pee it out. It can be dangerous sometimes. Like people have had fatalities from drinking too much water because they dehydrate themselves. Because the more you drink, the more you start peeing when it's in bulk. So really, you want to take that 3 liters of water and spread it out as evenly as possible throughout the day to maintain optimal hydration. Okay. And then the last thing we're going to kind of go on to with the hydration is water is not the optimal fluid to rehydrate during sports performance. Okay. Perfect for during the day. Absolutely perfect. But for sports performance of events lasting an hour or more, especially high intensity exercise, you want to be using an isotonic sports drink. What the hell is an isotonic sports drink? Okay, so I think you probably have a fair idea. Somebody's probably already used them. Lucozade, Powerade, Gatorade, all that kind of stuff. So what is an isotonic sports drink? They are a mixture of water, carbohydrates, and electrolytes. So kind of discussed a little bit in the last slide or slide before, glycogen. So what glycogen is stored carbohydrate. This is your athletic fuel tank. And you can only store a certain amount of it in your body. You store it in your muscles and in your liver. So anyway, glycogen is stored carbohydrates. That's your athletic fuel tank. So that's the reason carbohydrates are added in to an isotonic sports drink. It's for fast digestion. So there's like basically it's just sugar or glucose or whatever, fructose, different ones have different sugars in them. So that makes your glycogen, your fuel tank, fill up as you're exercising. So that's great. So it's filling up the fuel tank. They also contain electrolytes. What are electrolytes? Electrolytes are chemicals that conduct electricity when dissolved in water, blah, blah, blah. So what they do, they regulate nerve and muscle function, and they also help to hydrate the body, balance your blood acidity and your blood pressure, and also help rebuild damaged tissue. Okay, so electrolytes are super important. If you don't got electrolytes, you're dead. So that's why glycogen plus electrolytes are added into isotonic sports drink, because when you sweat, I don't know if any is ever like were playing a match or did it like a really long distance run, and you kind of get really salty stuff, white stuff on your forehead. That's the salts that you're losing as well as water. So when you sweat, it's water.
Yeah.
And it's electrolytes, and you're using up carbohydrates. Okay, so that's why isotonic sports drink are the ideal hydration solution during sports performance. And then here's just a piece I just copied and pasted off Sport Ireland, the national governing body of sport in Ireland. So the findings of scientific research overwhelmingly indicate that sports drink containing electrolytes, particularly sodium, salt, and a low carbohydrate concentration of about 4 to 8% improved performance more effectively than plain water. So the research says it. That's why you see everyone selling electrolytes, taking electrolytes, blah, 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 and isotonic sports drink, because they work, okay? So again, here's what you guys can do for practical takeaways. 3 liters of water throughout the day. Then drink an isotonic sports drink before and during your match. Okay, the majority of it you should be drinking before your match, because it is going to take a little bit to actually enter your bloodstream and move around. So let's say you have a 750 ml bottle of Lucozade. Maybe you're drinking half of that kind of, you know, before you get to the game, during your warm up, and then you've got the rest for like maybe during the match and halftime. Okay, for optimal absorption. And then you also want to do this religiously during training. So like you always hear, like, train the exact same way as you want to play your match. And this is for a few different reasons. You don't want to bring anything new in on a game day to your body. Okay, so if you only drink water or you don't drink water at all during your 2 training sessions or 3 training sessions throughout the week, and then you start drinking a sports drink during your match, like it's going to unleash some sort of amazing capabilities, that's actually not a good way to approach it, because your body works better when it's accustomed to doing things. Okay, so if your body knows it's going to get a certain fuel and electrolytes during training, it will adapt way better to that. So all you guys should be going to training with an isotonic sports drink. Maybe not so the gym, because you're not going to sweat as much, but definitely during your pitch sessions. Okay, and it's also just going to build a habit. Game, training, where's my sports drink? Good stuff. So that's kind of the end of hydration. Does anyone have any questions on any of those things before we go on to the next part? Just maybe unmute yourself and just shout out there.
Does the BCCAs, does that count as a tonic drink?
Does that count as a which?
An isotonic drink?
No. So what Mark's asking there is a BCAA, an isotonic sports drink. So that's a branch chain amino acid. So they're basically like protein in the smallest form. So that's like, they'd be kind of completely different. So they're not glycogen, they're not carbohydrate, they're not electrolytes, and they're not water. It'd be no harm taking it, but it's not going to necessarily do anything for your performance.
So it doesn't work the same as the electrolytes?
No, different thing kind of altogether.
Okay.
But I wouldn't not take it, you know, but it's completely different.
Cool.
Good stuff. Okay, so that's the hydration stuff covered. So next we're going to go on to this bad boy. So this is your performance priority pyramid. Okay, performance priority pyramid. That is a mouthful. So all this pyramid is, it's like a visualization and a representation to show you guys what matters most when it comes to nutrition. Okay, and in order of importance. So if you guys were to maximize your performance, you really, really want to focus on your calories. Then you really, really want to focus on your macronutrients. Then you really want to focus on your micronutrients. And then less important is the timing, which is probably the question I got asked most today on WhatsApp. What do we eat? When do we eat it? And then supplements after that make feck all of the difference, 5%. Okay, so that's just kind of visualization of what matters the most. Build your base to build your peak. And underlying all those things that I just talked about in that pyramid, they all don't matter unless you're consistent. Okay, so the main thing that matters before all this comes is the consistency, right? And the same goes with training. You can have the best training program of the best coach in the world, monitoring every single move you make, but if you don't show up to the gym, ain't nothing going to happen. You know, an average program followed consistently gets way more results than the best program never followed or half followed. Okay, so your job now over the next weeks, months, and years, that's what we're working together for, is just to build some habits and systems in place that you can be as consistent as possible. Okay, because you're human, and I'm going to give you a lot of information. during this hour, and I'm not expecting any is to go away and try and implement all this. Like that is like a recipe for a complete failure. So if you look at habitual research, like how building habits, taking on 2 habits at once. Like say you wanted to up your hydration game. If you're not drinking 3 liters of water a day and you said, I'm going to start doing that. If you take on that and you try to take on another habit, let's say trying to bump up your protein, the chances of you failing are like 85% plus, because our brains are not made in a way to take on like generally more than one new thing at a time. Okay, so we want to just focus on one thing, nail that one thing, and then move on to the next thing. So what makes the big difference? I have these in percentages here. These aren't like any percentages I got anywhere. I just made them up myself, but I'm just trying to kind of give you an idea. It's the same as the base of the triangle. It's just kind of inverted. So like 40% of your results, say, are going to come down to the amount of calories that you consume. Okay, so your performance is going to come down 40% in nutrition to the amount of calories that you consume. After that, the next priority is going to make the biggest difference to your nutrition and your performance is your macronutrients, which is your proteins, carbs, and fats. After that, it's the quality of your food, okay, which is your micronutrients. And then the second least important thing is the timing and when you eat that food. And then what's making almost no difference, but does make a little bit difference if you have the other things already in place, is the supplements. Okay, and I think a lot of people kind of get that whole table nearly flipped upside down. What supplements should I take? Do you know, or even the way it's marketed. Supplements are marketed like they are the thing that's going to take you to the next level. They're not. They make a little bit of difference at best. What matters most is nearly your first 2 or 3 there: calories, macros, and the quality of your food. Okay, so then we're just kind of going to break these down then really quick, right? We're going to go through 1 to 5. So calories, most important factor. What are calories? Calories are energy. That's what they are. They're energy from food. You eat calories, you get energy. Your body gets energy. The less calories you eat, the less energy you will physically and mentally have. The more calories you eat, the more energy you will have. Okay? It's as simple as that. Calories for fat loss. If any of you are interested in fat loss, even if you're not, this is actually a really cool slide. So most of you would probably know to decrease the amount of body fat that you have to decrease your calories. This is called a calorie deficit. Okay, so if you need 3,000 calories to currently stay at your weight, let's just pretend you're 80 kilos, you need 3,000 calories to maintain that. Well, to start losing weight or fat, you need to go in, let's say, a 500 calorie deficit. So you're going to be eating 2,500 calories. Now you have created a calorie deficit, and then you will start initiating fat loss. Okay. So if your goal is not fat loss though, or let's say it is fat loss, and I'm just going to let you know why fat loss is not good for performance. Fat loss and performance are on the opposite ends of spectrum. Okay. So if you're in a calorie deficit, this leaves less calories. Anytime you hear me say calories, also think energy. This leaves less calories or energy for performance and repairing your body. Okay. So the way it works is essential body functions comes first before performance. So what that means is, what's the most essential function in your body? If you had to kind of go from the core outwards, you're thinking about keeping your brain alive, you're thinking about keeping your heart pumping, your lung going, your kidneys going, okay? And then on the next like stratosphere, you'd be thinking about maybe keeping your like your testosterone levels high, your sex levels up, your activity, the way you can walk around. And then after that, you're going to be talking about exercise. Okay, so it's kind of like tiered. Your body will prioritize the essential functions that are going to keep you alive. So what that means is, if you reduce your calories, your body does not have enough calories to get by. So it will prioritize the most important functions of your body first, keeping your heart thinking, blah, 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 blah. So there's actually less calories available for performance, for energy, for growth and repair of muscle, for growth and repair of cells. Building muscle is actually a very costly process to your body. Your body does not want to do that. It only does that when it has like enough calories to do it and excess calories to do it. So if you're giving it less calories, there's less room for athletic performance. And I just like this analogy with the bank account. Imagine you've got a bank account there that you're getting paid €3,000 into, okay, 3,000 calories. And you've got all your expenses. You've got your core expenses, which is going to be paying your mortgage, paying your car loan, paying your personal loan, maybe you're paying into your pension. You've got the slightly less important things, like maybe buying clothes, maybe some school fees you could possibly get away with, blah, blah, blah. And then you've got your nice extras, which are new shoes, your new fitness watch, blah, 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 nights out, stuff like that. Okay, nice extras. If that €3,000 that you're getting into your bank account is reduced to €2,500, like the calories were, which is going to be cut first? It's not going to be your mortgage. It's not going to be your car loan. It's going to be the nice things. The nice things are your nights out, your new shoes. That's the same thing as your new muscle, your athletic performance, building new blood capillaries, building faster nerve functions. That's like nice things to have for your body. Your body doesn't necessarily want to do that, only if it has the calories. Okay, so that's why I'm just trying to get into your head that never try to lose fat when it's important times of the year and you guys are playing matches. So when you want to actually do the fat loss, if any are looking to reduce your body fat, is you do that off season and you maybe do a pre-season and possibly at the start of the league. It depends on how important the matches are. But any of you guys from like midsummer on championship, like nobody should be trying to lose weight if performance is your goal. Okay. And then, yeah, this is a nice one. Are you an athlete or a cover model? I remember getting stuck in this one when I was younger, as a lad does. Okay, I'm sure you are no different. You're trying to look good. You're trying to lose fat. You're also trying to perform. It's like a massive mistake. So you guys have to just get it drilled into your head that you're athletes and you're training for performance. So you have to fuel for performance. You're not a cover model. Okay, so athletes isn't necessarily about having like single-digit body fat and having a six-pack. Sometimes those people like don't perform well at all. Okay, not saying you can't have those things if you fuel yourself right, but there are completely different types of training and fueling. Where you guys are eating calories for performance. So eating the necessary amounts. Sorry, just have to add Doiler in here. Eating the necessary amounts of calories that your body needs. This is going to ensure adequate amounts of energy for performance and repair, like we kind of discussed. Your body has the extra energy to give it the extra nice bits. And your body has the necessary or excess energy to build new structures in your body. Oh yeah, kind of like what we were talking about. Build new muscle, grow, tissue repair, new blood capillaries, etc. Come on, next slide.
Kieran, question.
Yeah.
So like the hydration.
Yeah.
Does the amount of calories you take in on a training day, do you add more on a training day or less when you're not training? So it's 3,000 standard, like the way 3 liters of water. Like would you take less in a day that you're not training or would you take more on a day that you are training?
So yeah, that's a really good question. Technically, yeah. Technically, yeah, you would eat a little bit more on your training days. But like out of like there's over 100 people in the gym there, in my gym in Trim. There's only one person in the whole gym that actually is that meticulous and goes into that level of detail on MyFitnessPal that eats different calories on training days than on training days. So well, yeah, in theory, yeah, but in reality, just try and be consistent, you know?
Okay.
Like that's like very like higher level, not like super high level, but it is higher level. Or say like today, I was meant to train today and it would have taken about 90 minutes. Okay, but I was too busy today that I didn't get a chance to train. So that's why I jumped in with that lady just in one of the classes for literally, I did a 10-minute workout just to do something. So then I'd have to start changing all my food around and messing things around just because now it was a non-training day and it was a training day. You know, like it's there's a lot of organizing in it that's kind of not necessary.
So don't
Just kind of,
overtrain.
if your calories are, you're asked how you need 3,000 calories, like you're never going to get it like exactly 3,000 calories on every single day, roughly within 2,800 to 3,200. And it's more about what happens balanced over the week as opposed to on the specific day.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. Cheers.
Stuff. Okay, so calories for performance, blah, blah, blah. And okay, so that's the calories covered. They're the most important ones. Basically, if your calories low, your performance is going to suffer. The bigger the calorie drop you do, the bigger decrease in performance. Always trying to eat as much calories as possible without your weight going up. Do you know, if you can eat 3,000 calories and your weight stays 80 kilos, and then you bump up your calories to like 3,500 and your weight still stays the same, well, you just got 500 kind of like free calories to go towards more energy and more recovery. So push the boundaries with the amount of food that you can eat without putting on excess body fat. Okay, so next one is the macronutrients. So this is the second most important thing that you want to be getting nailed down. Macronutrients, what are they? Proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. You need them in large amounts. That's why they're called macros. And even in that order I have them, protein is the most important one for performance. The second, and very closely followed, is carbohydrates. And the least important to your performance are your fats. And that's why I'm always trying to tell you, eat your protein, blah, 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 because that matters most in macronutrients. So what is protein? What does it do? I'm sure you all have a half a decent idea. Growth and repair of everything. You are just a walking pile of protein, basically. Everything in your body is protein. Muscles, bone, tendons, ligaments. Your hormones are made of protein. Your enzymes are made of protein. Your neurotransmitters are made of protein. Your immune system, the whole thing is made, it's all protein. Okay, your DNA is protein. You're just walking, talking protein. So eating protein helps grow and repair all these structures. And that's why it's so important for performance. Okay, if you eat less protein, less growth, less repair, less athletic performance. So how much protein do you need? Well, very simple. You need 2 kilos or 2 grams per 1 kilo of body weight. If you are 80 kilos, you need 160 grams of protein a day. Okay, and here are some sources of protein. So you want to try and choose the leaner options over the fattier options of protein. So say if you're going for beef, you guys would want to go in for the like 5% lean mince as opposed to the 15%, unless you're trying to increase your calories to put on some weight, okay? But anyway, for the most part, leaner options are better options. Fish, all seafood, all poultry, chicken, turkey, etc. Pork, eggs, some yogurts and dairy, it just depends. And then for any of you that are plant-based eaters, if any of you are actually, please send me a WhatsApp after this, but any are plant-based, you're looking at legumes, beans and tofu are your main ones. And then I just have protein powder in there as well as a source of protein. And the reason why I put protein in there might be a question that you have in your head, like, do I have to take protein? And the answer is no, you do not have to take protein if you're eating enough protein. So if you go back to this slide, how much protein do you need a day as an 80 kilo man? 160 grams. Like, it doesn't matter where those sources come from. Okay, so let's say you ate 120 grams from beef and chicken throughout the day. There's nothing wrong with topping yourself up having a protein powder. But taking a protein powder per se on its own doesn't have any necessarily magical qualities or better qualities than just eating fish or eggs or pork. Okay, it's just a convenient way to get your protein into you. Okay, next most important one, carbohydrate. When you eat carbohydrate, your body only has a certain amount it can store. Okay, so think about a fuel tank on a car. Okay, and you've got like whatever 60 liters in your car. Same as your body. Your muscles and your liver are the places where your body stores carbohydrate. And it's that carbohydrate, it's called glycogen when it's broken down into your body. It's that carbohydrate in your body that is the main fuel source for high performance exercise. Okay, so that's why it's important for your carbohydrates levels to be on point, because you want to keep that fuel tank full to the brim. When you're exercising, when we went back to the dehydration thing, those fuel tanks start to empty. Whether you're dehydrated or hydrated, they'll start to deplete, more so if you're dehydrated. And that's why the isotonic drinks have the carbohydrate in them. And that's why it's a little bit better to drink your carbohydrates during sports performance than to eat it. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with jellies or Jaffa cakes or anything like that at halftime. Like if you feel they work for you, then continue on using them. But the thing with those foods, they're solid, so they will take longer to break down and digest and absorb than if you drank the sugar straight into your true and isotonic sports drink. So eating enough carbohydrate is going to increase your sports performance. The more active you are, so like how much carbohydrates do you need? There's not an easy way of doing it like there was protein, but basically the more active you are, the more carbohydrates that you need. Okay, so if you guys are working in an office job and then you're training 3 or 4 times a week, you're not going to need as much as the guy who's fitting carpets for like 8 or 10 hours a day, and then he's going training 5 or 6 days a week. He needs like double the amount of carbohydrates. Okay. And the way you know how to work out how many carbs you need, use the calculator that I sent you in the group the other day. Okay, and then I just have there in myth, cutting carbs results in fat loss. That is like the worst thing any of you could ever do if you're trying to lose fat, is cut your carbs. You will feel like shit. And actually, if you wanted to do it as an experiment one night, don't eat any carbohydrates for 2 or 3 days in a row and look at how shit you train. It will be crazy. Okay, so carbohydrate sources. Carbohydrates are broken down into complex carbs and simple carbs. The majority of the carbohydrates you're looking to eat throughout the day are the complex carbohydrates. Oats, whole grains, pastas, rice, quinoa, potatoes, sweet potatoes, couscous, breads. Simple carbohydrates, you're looking to consume these like around exercise time and whenever you like to enjoy these things as well. They're not going to kill you if you eat a few of them. So these are your sugars, sports drinks, jellies, fruit juices, jam, desserts, ice cream. Okay. So they're just different type of carbohydrates. Sorry, complex ones, slower digesting, simple carbs, faster digesting. That's why you take the simple carbs when you're exercising, because they digest faster. So you fill up your fuel tank quicker. Okay, now we're on to fats. The least important of the 3 macronutrients, but still no doubt extremely important. Mainly important for joint health. Okay, so they have anti-inflammatory effects. Important for your brain health. So huge scientific research to suggest that fish oil is extremely good for your mood, your cognition, and like depressive episodes and stuff like that. Also very good for your heart and circulatory health. Okay, so to keep your arteries and your heart functioning like absolutely smooth as hell, you need a certain type of fat. It's called a monounsaturated fat. That's what they are for, to keep those pipes clean. And then fats are vital for absorption of certain vitamins. So vitamin A, D, E, K, they're all fat soluble vitamins. So if you get a supplement like a vitamin D supplement, they would always be suspended in like a little bit of fat because it absorbs it. And how do you calculate how much fat you need? Well, it's the calculator is going to do it, but just to kind of give you a general idea, when you calculate your protein and then you calculate your carbohydrate needs, whatever calories that you have left is your fat. Okay, if that makes sense. And then some fat sources: healthy fats, olive oil, nuts, nut butters, seeds, avocados, oily fish, trout, salmon, etc. And then you want to eat these less often. So these will be a mixture of saturated fats, which you still need in small amounts. Don't get me wrong, you still need these, but in less quantities. And that'll be cheese, butter, animal fat, processed meats, and then biscuits, ice cream, cakes, chocolate. And then takeaways are going to have trans fats in them. Trans fats are literally the worst thing you could put in your body. Deep frying stuff is a trans fat. Okay, so you want to stay as far away from those things as possible. Not to say that you have to avoid takeaways, but just like especially deep fried stuff, it's really bad for your circulatory system. Okay. So what does a meal look like? here's a rough idea what your plate should look like when you're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So where's your protein? Okay, you got your protein, first thing that goes on your plate, carbohydrates, your veg, and your fats. Loads of color, loads of variety. So when you guys are making up a meal, or if I was making up a meal, the first thing I think about is what am I going to have for a protein source? Okay, Larissa, my partner, has made me. She doesn't really make me full dinners. She just cooks me a protein source. I do my breakfast and lunch myself and snacks. She just cooks a protein source. So she's just cooked, browned off some mince with some tomato sauce. So she'll have whatever dinner she's having, and the girls will have whatever dinner they're having. And then say last night when I came in from training, the mince is already cooked, and all I did was stuck in, and there was some vegetables in the mince. All I did was stuck in a microwave packet of rice into the microwave. And tonight after this, I am going to do the same thing, but I'm going to just throw in some pasta as my carbohydrate. Okay, so it's kind of the first thing you want to be thinking of when you're making your meals. Where's my protein? Where's my carbohydrate? Where's my fat? What vegetables am I using? And that's how you construct a meal in your head, no matter where you are, out at a restaurant, all you can eat buffet, at home, looking in the cupboard. You can make meals up. Once you have this template, you can make any meal anywhere. Okay, so practical takeaways for you guys. I know that was heavy. So what you really need to know is, if you were to have any chance of doing well with that stuff, the first thing you need to know is what foods are what. So if I brought you guys into a supermarket and I picked up like an avocado, would you tell me that that's a protein, a carbohydrate, a fat, or a vegetable? Okay, if you said that was a protein, well then you don't really have a good chance of getting your macros right, because you don't even know what food is what. Okay, you don't need to be an absolute like nutritionist, just need to know basics. And it says there use Kieran's sheets. So what I've done up for you guys is I've done up 3 lists of all sources of proteins, all sources of carbohydrates, and all sources of fats. Okay, and I'm going to bring them into use next week, and just to make it easy. Okay, so use those sheets and just get to know foods and what's what. And then, yeah, like I said in the last slide, prioritize your proteins and carbohydrates when making your meals. Okay. Number 3, food quality. So the third most important one is the quality of your food. So all food quality is, it refers to how nutrient dense that your food is. And what nutrient density is the amount of nutrients that are contained in the food, such as vitamins, minerals, polyphenols, fiber, antioxidants, etc. So all those things that you get from your food. What the hell are vitamins and minerals? They are vitamins and minerals. So these are called your micronutrients because you need them in small quantities. Macros, proteins, carbs, fats, your body needs them in large quantities. Micronutrients, your body needs them in small quantities. So what do? They support every single function in your body. If you're not getting enough of them, you will see a decrease in your energy. You will see a decrease in your training gains and your sports performance. And the rate of which you get sick and which you get injured will also increase. Okay, and then I just have listed there. You don't have to remember these. So your minerals, calcium, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, chloride, magnesium, iron, zinc, iodine, blah, blah, blah. And your vitamins, I think there's 12 or 13 of them, A, C, D, E, K, and then I think there's 6 or 7 B vitamins, okay? So, do you have a deficiency? If you do not, so do you have like a mineral or a vitamin deficiency? Are you deficient in vitamin E, D, K, A? Are you deficient in phosphorus, iodine, blah, blah, blah? Who knows? You'd only know technically with a blood test. But anyway, if you are not eating enough whole foods, chances are that you probably do have a deficiency in something if you don't eat like a good balanced diet. And here's like just one example. I pulled this up from the Food Safety Authority in Ireland. So they're estimating that between 10 and 44% of the Irish population aren't meeting their basic needs of vitamin D. And this is basic needs. That's just enough to like function like normal. This is not to thrive. So 10 to 44%. And I'm sure it's going to be a similar in like the team, 10 to 44% of you guys on the team are probably deficient in your vitamin D. Okay, and there's loads of vitamins and there's loads of minerals. So I just wanted to highlight one important one, and that was vitamin D. And I'm just going to read out this post for you, from this PhD nutritionist that I follow on the gram. Saved. Okay. So bear in mind, you could be, I'm not saying you are, but you could be deficient in vitamin C, A, D, A, K, whatever. So this is just one example of if you were deficient in vitamin D, which is 10 to 44% of you. Okay, so the post is called "For Max Strength, Speed, Power, and Injury Prevention, Get Enough Vitamin D." Okay, so studies in elite athletes with low levels of vitamin D show vitamin D supplementation improved sprint speed, muscle power, and strength. Also, vitamin D deficiency and insufficiency, which is low levels but not enough to be true deficiency, is associated with stress fractures, muscle weakness, chronic musculoskeletal pain, and muscle injuries. A study examining NFL players found those with at least one muscle injury, which was described as a strain, a tear, or a pull, resulting in at least one missed match during the season, had significantly lower vitamin D levels compared to players with no reported muscle injuries during the same period. In another study conducted with players from the Pittsburgh Steelers, significantly lower vitamin D levels were found in players with at least one bone fracture compared to those with no bone fractures. Also, significantly lower vitamin D levels were observed in players released during the preseason because of injury or poor performance when compared to the levels of those who played the entire regular season. So I just thought that was so cool, that needed to be read out. And that's just one vitamin. There's loads of other ones that you could get the same kind of stuff from, but I just wanted to highlight how being deficient in a vitamin or a mineral will have serious consequences to your health and performance. So where are you going to get your vitamins and minerals? Mainly through whole foods. What the hell are whole foods? Whole foods are just normal, like, food that don't have any ingredients, like you see in the picture, real food, okay, like your grandparents would have ate. So they have no ingredient list. They will leave you fuller for longer, they're more nutrient dense, and they'll also dramatically reduce your cravings if you get cravings. So that's where the vitamins and minerals are coming from. Processed food. What the hell is processed food? Well, like you see it there, fish and chips out of the chipper is processed food. As food processing increases, so the more food is processed, the less nutrients it has in it. Okay, so the more it gets away from its natural state, generally, it has less nutrients in it. And you can't blame yourself for overeating these foods because they are scientifically made for you to overconsume them. The right crunch, the right amount of salt, blah, blah, blah. So what are an example of some processed foods? Like cornflakes, chicken fillet rolls, bags of crisps, chips, and stuff like that. So here's an example of someone eating like really processed and low quality food. Monday morning, wake up, skip breakfast because no time to eat. Goes to the deli, gets a chicken fillet roll and a bar of chocolate and a can of Coke. Comes home for dinner and has a decent dinner. Maybe the mother cooks dinner or someone cooks dinner, to make their own dinner. Beef, spuds, peas, mushrooms. Okay, half decent dinner. And then they sit down because they're still hungry and they eat 15 chocolate biscuits, bag of jellies, have a glass of wine, and they feel like shite. They wake up Tuesday, they stop in the same deli, they get 5 jumbo sausages and a latte, skip breakfast, and then they get a chipper on the way home. And in the night snack, and they're having 4 slices of toast and a bar of chocolate and a liter of Coke. So if you're eating like this, your performance is going to be really, 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 really low. Okay, so and there's no vitamins and no minerals in those foods. So when you're talking about foods, I realize we're on the hour, lads, so we'll be nearly done in the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So thanks for bearing with me. So whole foods, processed foods. It's not just a black and white spectrum, okay? So some foods are processed or more processed than others. So just to give you 2 examples here, brown rice, okay, is completely unprocessed. So that's like just literally picked and like as whole as you could get. A little bit more processed than brown rice is white rice, okay, because they break the outer shell off it, so it's a little bit more processed. If they want to process it even more, they cook it and make it into Rice Krispies, maybe adding a bit of sugar into it. And then ultra processed version of rice is like a marshmallow square. Okay, so you can see here, it's not black and white. There is a spectrum. I eat Frosties probably every single day. There's nothing wrong with it. But you're looking for the majority of your food to come from whole foods. Okay, on a spectrum. And then just really quick on the psychology of food, what you don't want to get into in your head is seeing food as good or bad. Okay, food, you probably heard this before from somewhere. Food, it can not be good or bad. You put labels on food, whether it's good or bad. That is not a good idea because that can cause a lot of fecked up kind of eating patterns and put things off limits and stuff like that. You don't want to get there, right? Nothing is off limits. You can eat whatever you want to eat, okay? And start seeing food as more like a kind of a traffic light system. This is what the Irish Strength Institute uses for their athletes. A lot of schools will use it as well, I think. So green foods, eat all the time, eat as much as possible. They're like your whole foods. Yellow foods, still eat them within moderation. Red foods, like your takeaways and your can of Coke and stuff like that, you can still have them, just reduce the quantity. Okay, so therefore nothing is off limit. And research has shown that people who are more flexible with their diet, like that nothing's off limit, are much more successful at eating better than those who are rigid dieters. Here I start on Monday, I'm cutting out chocolate, I'm cutting out this. Those type of people are generally the ones that will go from eating bad, eating worse, eating bad, eating worse, and actually have a higher body fat than someone who's just a bit more chilled with food. Okay, so never see any food as off limits. Okay, second last one, nutrient timing. So this is like slightly lower down the scale on what matters most for performance, but it still does matter. Okay, so it doesn't make a massive difference, but it still makes a bit of a difference. Okay, so say like it's going to add an extra 10% to your performance. The main one to get right with the timing, lads, is just getting some sort of a structure in place. Okay, these just need to get a structure. Your body loves rhythm. It loves eating stuff at the same time. It loves going to bed at the same time. It loves training at the same time. Okay, because hormones and enzymes all get released based on your structure, like your whole rhythm. So your body loves rhythm with food. It will anticipate food at a certain time. Okay, so try and have some sort of structure which has just been organized, which is one of the most challenging parts about nutrition, is just getting yourself organized. So nutrient timing, have a consistent meal schedule. Your body performs best on a body clock. You want to eat anywhere from 3 to 6 meals a day, okay? And that's based on your preference and your own work schedule. So there is no right amount of meals to eat per day. It's anywhere from 3 to 6, and that is based on your work schedule, life schedule, and also what you prefer, how you prefer to eat, okay? There's nothing wrong with skipping a breakfast. There's nothing wrong with eating late. There's nothing wrong with eating early. Whatever you prefer, just as long as you're eating a well-balanced, getting your calories, hitting your macros, doesn't matter if it's 3, 4, 5, or 6 meals a day, okay? And then I got a lot of these questions in WhatsApp. On a match day, what do you eat? Well, basically, you eat no different than any other day. So some practical takeaways. So eat. You want to be eating a meal between 1 and 2 hours before you train or before you play match, okay? And then you also want to be eating 1 to 2 hours after a match to kind of pre-fuel you and then refuel you. 1 to 2 hour window. And that could mean that you have a bigger meal 2 hours before your match, or it can mean having a smaller meal 1 hour before your match. And you have to try and play around with that and see what works best for you. Okay, again, it's individual and it's based on your work schedule and life schedule. But 1 to 2 hours, make sure you have something either side of your performance. This is like slightly more advanced, this part here, but for best absorption of your proteins and your carbohydrates in your meal, you want to reduce your fat and your vegetables in your pre-match meal. Okay, fat and vegetables, because of the fiber, will actually slow down the rate at which your body can use the carbohydrate and protein. So it's like an advanced thing. Don't get like overworked with it, but like having a big ass salad or loads of veg before a match is actually not going to help you perform as much as if you didn't have those veg in there. Okay. And then, yeah, just remember at the bottom, timing matters to a less degree than calories, your macronutrients, and your quality. So don't try and put all the emphasis into what should I eat before a match. Like what the stuff that's going to make the biggest difference to your performance is getting your calories right and your macros right on a consistent basis. So let's say you're eating not great, you're not hitting your calories, maybe you're not getting enough protein and you're not getting enough carbohydrates. When it comes to match day and you're trying to fix stuff then, like it's kind of putting the cart before the horse. You're not going to get anywhere near the same amount out of it that if you had a shite meal day structure, but you were consistent with your macros and your calories, if that makes sense. So I just kind of did up a practical example so you can visualize it. And I'll print something off and bring it up to you next week. So no game versus game. So let's say you have the same breakfast, overnight oats, right? 10 o'clock, you're having a snack, yogurt, grapes, apple, banana. Same on game day and non-game day. Same lunch at 1 o'clock. And the only difference you're tweaking here, so see a no game day, you have your snack at 5 o'clock and then you have your dinner at 8. Well, because you guys are going to be playing a game on a Tuesday, 8 o'clock, you just need to move that flapjack or bowl of oats that you usually would have had at 5 o'clock, move that slightly later. So it's an hour and a half before your match. So you have 2 or 3 scoops of oats, or you have a big flapjack. And then you obviously have to eat later on. You can't eat at 8 o'clock because you're playing a match. Okay, that's the only difference. You don't need to do anything special or anything like that. You just need to make sure that you're eating 1 to 2 hours before and after the match like that. Is there any questions on that one there before we go on to the last one?
Yeah, sorry, Kieran, just on that one. Is that kind of in the same for days as training? So an awful lot of the time, late home from work on a day of training, and you don't obviously want to eat dinner an hour beforehand. So I wouldn't ever eat dinner after 9 or half 9, but it's obviously okay.
Yeah, it's fine. There's like you can eat dinner as late as it's not going to do anything bad for you if you eat late. And let's say that sometimes you're not hungry after training. Like I wouldn't be mad hungry straight away after training. So let's say you're training late and it's whatever, it's 8:30 you were training at, and you're not getting back to the house till like 10 or 10:30, and you don't have an appetite in you to eat dinner. Well, then that's when you might take some calories in like a liquid form. So that's when you might have a protein shake. So like a couple of scoops of protein with whatever milk and peanut butter and a couple of bananas. And that might be easier to consume than sitting down and eating a dinner late. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And I suppose that before it then as well, just something small like your flapjack, your bowl of cereal then.
Yeah, so it depends what you prefer. So what, like you could even just play around with it, try eating a meal 2 hours before match. That's maybe slightly bigger, or else try eating an hour before match and see what feels good in your stomach. And that's why I was saying it's important to do the isotonic sports drink like during training as well. So you're used to doing that and you know what it feels like. So if you're doing something brand new and let's say you have like 3 scoops of oats, 2 or 3 scoops of oats before a match, an hour before a match, and then you start drinking this isotonic sports drink like 15 minutes before training starts, the match starts, like that could end up leaving you with like a really sloshy, full stomach that's impacting on your performance. but that's because you're only playing around with it. Like, you don't want to be doing that kind of stuff. That's new stuff when it comes to your matches. So you want to be practicing your nutrition the same way as you practice your physical training. You know, you want to train the same way as you play your game, if possible. You know, that's what you're trying to practice. So it's basically what I'm saying, Andrew, is that it's individual, and that you have to just, like that, you kind of have a structure here. You know now kind of like what to eat, when to eat. So then it's up to you on the quantities and the time with your work and when training starts on what suits you best then.
No, that's 100%. Thanking you.
No worries. Okay, lads. And then the last thing is the supplements. So I don't want to spend loads of time on this because it does make the least amount of difference. This is just the icing on the cake. If you get all the other shit in order, these are just like nice optional extras. So, like, yeah, these are the things that like professional athletes will take. They'll be all taking this in the rugby league and stuff like that. So everyone will be on creatine, 5 grams a day. Don't have to take it. Some people are afraid to take it. There's literally no published research anywhere that says it's unsafe to take. It's perfectly safe to take. It's one of the most researched sports supplements in the world. So there is like stupid amount of data on it, and it is absolutely fine, and it is scientifically proven to improve your performance. And the next one is protein. So I nearly didn't include that in the supplement because it's nearly not a supplement anymore. It's kind of like a food staple, but it is technically a supplement. So that can just help you reach your protein needs. But as described earlier, doesn't do anything magical. Doesn't have any magical properties. It's going to turn you into some sort of tank. It's just hitting your protein needs has the magical qualities, not the protein powder. Then I put in vitamin D there just because 10 to 44% of the population are deficient. You get vitamin D from the sun. You need about 20 minutes of sun exposure a day to meet your requirements. So maybe that doesn't happen even on a sunny day if you're in an office and stuff like that. It's definitely not going to happen during the winter months. Myself personally, I would just take a vitamin D supplement when the clocks go back. I don't know where I heard this, but it was brilliant. So when the clocks go back, in October, whenever it is in October, yes, I start taking a vitamin D supplement every single day. And then when the clocks go forward, like they did the other day, I stop taking a vitamin D supplement. Okay, so you're kind of taking it 6 months out of the year to make sure you don't hit the deficiencies, because you're going to be probably out in the sun throughout the summer, and you want to be taking about 2,000 to 4,000 IUs every day. So just in case you go into Lidl and a lot of them will have almost nothing or something like that, so just make sure on the label you're looking for 2,000 to 4,000 IUs. And if you want me to stick a link up on where to get it for, like, it's very, very cheap supplements, like €15 for like a 2-3 month supply, I can send you a link. Creatine is also one of the cheapest sports supplements you can get. You can get like 6 months supply for like €20. And then the last thing I want to talk about is caffeine. So caffeine has also been scientifically proven to enhance your sports performance. So the dosage of caffeine is between 3 and 6 milligrams of caffeine per kilo of body weight. So let's say you are an 80 kilo guy, you want to be consuming 8 by 3, about 240, as far as like 600 milligrams of caffeine, about a half an hour to an hour before your match to see performance benefits. And if you want to see the best performance benefits, you would restrict your caffeine intake like on the days leading up to the match, and then consume it on the day of the match. But just note, like, it's going to increase your how long you can run, and how much you perceive that you're running is going to feel less. But just note that some people don't react well to it. You don't have to take it. It's also going to impact your sleep more than likely that night if you take it. Especially if there's a game at 8 o'clock, like, I don't know, like, I would be off my tits if I drank a flat white at 7 o'clock and then played a match. I wouldn't sleep till about 3. And just to give you some reference, in a can of Red Bull, there's about 80 milligrams of caffeine. So remember, the performance benefits are seen at 3 times body weight in milligrams. That's why Jamie Vardy drinks 3 to 4 cans of Red Bull before every match. And to give you another reference, Costa open in the chocolate there, I drink a flat white every day or every second day, and there is 3 cans of Red Bull worth of caffeine in a flat white because there's 3 shots of espresso in the flat white in Costa, and that comes in at 360 milligrams. So there is other supplements that you can take, but like they're the proven ones guaranteed to do something. The other ones, there may not be as much research, so I didn't put them in there. And I think that is it, lads. I know we're over time a little bit, but thank you very much for listening. And has anybody got any questions?
What about alcohol? Where does that fit into this?
Where does that fit on the list? Where does that fit in the list? So it's going to, let's see, there's nothing wrong with consuming it. Okay. It is going to, it's kind of like caffeine. It will dehydrate you. So you just want to be aware of the dehydration effects that alcohol is going to cause. And then probably the biggest one is the effect that it has on your sleep. So the different cycles that you go through when you sleep, when you drink alcohol, even if you're not even drunk, like let's just say you had 2 or 3 drinks before you went to bed, that is going to affect your deep sleep, which is basically your restorative sleep. So then and then sleep has loads of like performance effects, defects, like lack of sleep, you know. So even like if you're sleeping 8 hours, you're not technically sleeping the full 8 hours because you're not going through the different cycles of sleep, the 4 cycles of sleep. You're missing a whole cycle there, or a whole phase. So we just don't consume it, like, you know, a couple of days before training, or before a match, ideally. And then obviously if you drink a shitload, it's going to have a massive effect on your performance. Stop share. So I know that was like a shit ton of information to take in, lads, but it was just to kind of give you a general overview. I've recorded this as well, so I'll send it into the group tomorrow or Friday, and then I have a few sheets that I'm going to give you next week as well. And oh yeah, the last thing. So this is what I was thinking would work really well, and this is what you do in the gym with the gang in the gym, is we just do these challenges. Okay, so when I was talking about form and habits, like it's always best to just consciously focus on one thing to try and nail that down and make it become just part of your day. So the guys in the gym are just after finishing there on Sunday, they did a 4-week protein challenge. Okay, so they all just had to hit a certain amount of protein, and they just logged it on. There's an app that we use, and there's a points tally. If you say, yeah, you did it, or no, you didn't, you get a certain amount of points, and then there's a winner at the end, and there's a prize, and blah, blah, blah. So I was thinking that we could maybe do the same thing as we go on throughout the year. So I was thinking a nice one to start with, because I made it, the priority was the hydration. So if you were up to it, maybe in the next few weeks, we could do a hydration challenge where we all kind of have to hit 3 liters of water per day. I can have you on this app. You'll get a reminder every single day on your phone. Like it's a free app. You get a reminder every single day on your phone. Did you drink your 3 liters of water? And all you literally say is yes or no. And you get 2 points for yes, 0 points for no. Maybe we'll put one in between, like you drank 1.5 liters, gets you 1 point. And then we might also have, did you drink an isotonic sports drink at training and at your match this week? And that gives you an extra 5 points or something. And we do that for 4 weeks. So you have to think about it, and hopefully that continues on. What do you think about doing something like that?
Yeah, great idea.
Yeah. It just helps, you know, because again, you can have all this information. Knowledge is not power. You can know it all. Implementation is the power, you know. So you just kind of know what to do now, but it's just so much information. Where do you start? I think a great place to start is the hydration.
Winner gets a snack box.
I was thinking that maybe if we all threw in a $5, a snack box and a $5, but like that'd be a shit ton of money to win, you know, if everyone threw in a $5 and the winner gets it. we did that in the gym. Everyone just threw in a fiver, and the winner gets €250 now. So what they had to do, they did their habits checked in every single day, and then at the end of the month they do a reflections sheet. So like the form I sent to you with the performance testing, they just get 4 questions asked. What did you find were the biggest challenges of taking on this challenge? What did you find went well for you? What areas could you improve on? So that's where you kind of get the learning stuff from, when you like, again, reflect back on how you hydrated during the week. You know, you're getting some feedback from yourself. So that's what they had to do. And then let's say 20 people did it, and then they're all going into a draw now tomorrow, and the winner gets announced. But it's a good bit of buzz. So I will set that up in the next couple of weeks, and I will bring in the sheets next week. And if any have any questions, like I'm sure you want to think of questions now when the class finish, just WhatsApp it on to me and I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.
Good
Thanks,
stuff.
Kieran.
Right, lads. Thank
Cheers,
you very
Kieran.
much.
Thank you.
Sorry for
Thank
all
you
the
very
time.
Cheers,
Cheers,
Kieran.
Kieran.
Brilliant, lads. See you later.
Thanks,
Okay,
man. Good luck.
bye bye.